Hey guys, this is Hayes with CheatSheetPros.com, and today we're going to take a look at some prize picks and player props for Flex Friday. Now, this is our NBA cheat sheet. If you're new to us, we post this for free in our Facebook group every Thursday and usually one other day throughout the week, just kind of randomly to see who is paying attention. The link to that Facebook group is in the description. Our premium group, we do have a Facebook chat. We do detailed sports betting, player props, prize picks, you name it, we got someone in there talking about it. Also, these sheets are posted twice a day in the premium group. We post them in the morning. We sometimes update them over lunch, but they're definitely updated by about 90 minutes prior to lock because a lot of things change at that time in the NBA. So I want to go ahead and we're not going to go through the whole sheet, but we're just going to go through the stuff that I use for player props. Now, down here at the bottom, you can see this Damian Lillard downgraded to questionable. Okay. You can see our prize props tab. So this is going to give you all kinds of information in here. We're not going to focus on it in this video, but over here you can see we have the last 7-day average. We have our custom lines. We have projections from 3 major sites. We have streaks. We have the last 5 hit percentage, last 10 hit percentage, as well as overs and unders over here. Here we have a little suggestion box, kind of gives you a good idea, like 3 over projections. That just means all 3 sites are projecting that player to go over. 70% of the last 10 games they went under. The hot overs, hot unders are kind of the ones that come to the top of the list. But anyways, you can see the price pick line here, what the stat is, and then scroll across and get any information that you want. So people always ask me, how do I come up with my plays? Well, come up with a system, a process, and stick to it, because some days Fantasy Alarm will explode and nail their top 10, then the next day it might be Fantasy Pros, it might be Roto, and if you're bouncing around, it's really hard. What I do is I use this, I live and die by the prop tool down here at the bottom. Now, when you're looking at this, you have a good DVP over the last 2 weeks, so you can see what the team's allowing as far as points, points in the paint, perimeter, rebounds, steals, blocks, free throws attempted, and then how they rank overall, just guards, forwards, centers, and overall rank for just allowing anything. So here you can see Philly is really good across the board, and then Golden State's kind of so-so, but they give up a bunch of stuff. Also, when you're coming down here and you're looking at this, what I love about this is I can see hit rates right here. I can see any price pick lines that's updated in the sheet. It's going to be right here next to the player. I can see the projections. I can see the last 4 average. I can see the difference between the projection and the last 4 to see if it's higher or lower. And then, what is that noise? Sorry, something's buzzing. I can't figure out what it is. So, these stats here, I can see the last 7 games. I love game logs. Game logs are the best thing to look at. What I'm looking for is 2, 3, or 4 games where a player's gotten hot, and I want to catch a low line before they adjust. Now, Prize Picks is really good at adjusting, so that's something that you have to take advantage of while you can. Also in here, I can see, this is good information up here. So up at the top, I can see the opponent that they played. I can see if it was home, away, and I can see what the final score was. If they won, it's in green. If they didn't, it's in white. So you can see if a player didn't do so well, maybe it was a 30-point blowout, they were winning or they were losing and he played less minutes. I can see the minutes the player played down here. I can scroll across there. I can see if a player's minutes are going up, if they're going down, you know, kind of what he's doing. Maybe if he plays 2 30-minute days, the third day is usually like a lower 20, 22-minute game where he does some maintenance. But there's a lot of stuff that you see right here. So just this little box, I can break down everything for this player, his last 7 games, how the team has done, any price pick lines, how it looks with the projections, how it looks with his game logs. It's just a ton of valuable information, and I can't stress that enough. Another one that we've added over the last 2 weeks, if you haven't seen it recently, is the fantasy score. So on Price Picks, we have a lot of fantasy score props. They typically come up in an afternoon, and they're usually the ones that we can get advantages on. They rise to the top, and they've got the biggest gaps that we see quite a bit. So here we can see 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of the top 11 are fantasy score plays. So when we flip back over here, you can see what they've done the last 3 games. Now, typically, if it's the same, it's blue, or if there's no line. If it's over, it's green. If it's red, it's under. But if it's within a point, some of the color coding doesn't come out right, so keep an eye on that. But you can see, like, so you don't have to manually add this up, but fantasy scores over here. Now, one thing if you are playing fantasy scores I want to focus on is, like, look at Embiid. When you get into blocks and steals on Prize Picks, these are +3 for each. So if you find someone, like, for example, 4 blocks, that's 12 points. I mean, that's huge. So something to keep an eye on. So what I'm going to do, so that's kind of my little salesmanship for the cheat sheet. I'm going to flip through the 10 games. I'm going to hit on some players real quick. Some lines might be up. I wrote down some players I wanted to talk about on the morning sheet, but I just updated it. So we went from like 220 price pick lines up to 481. Excuse me. So as always, over here in this team, so here it says, click inside box for the drop-down menu. So once you click that, you open up this menu, and the new Excel update, it brings you up all the games. So you just click this, and it fills up for both teams, and then you can see the players, and you can scroll down, and I've got it going to 10 spots. Sometimes when you get down to 10, that player's projected for 0 minutes or 2 or 3 minutes, so they're kind of irrelevant. But you kind of get the point. Excuse me 1 minute. Let me write this. Sorry about that. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We are 6 minutes into the video. I've gave you my salesmanship, showed you the sheet, where to get it, so let's go ahead and get started. So when we click in here, we're going to this first game, Sacramento at Phoenix. Looking at this, there's one guy that always jumps out at me. Yes, you can go Devin Booker. You know, he's kind of, you know, throwing up great games, fantasy score, but his lines are going to be the highest. He's the most popular. He's one of the favorites. So 32.5 on Price Picks. I do not like that. And one of the reasons is you see 33, 46, 19, and then there you can't see that, but 30, you kind of get, you know, you're getting right around that number. There's not, you don't feel real good about it or feel real safe. His other stuff, you can see 1 of 7, 1 of 7, 3 of 7, so not very good at hitting the overs. So that's kind of how I look at the sheet, but that's not someone that I'm going to take a look at. So over here, we come over here to Sabonis, 19.5 points. Well, if you look at this, the last 2 games, he hasn't got there, but he's contributing across the board. So maybe you want to look at his PRA of 41.5. That's points plus rebounds plus assist. And if you come across here, you can see the majority of the time he's right there or getting over that number. But Sabonis is not the guy that I want to talk about. Fox, 26.5. He was on a tear over here, but you can see these last few games, he's only been over at 1 time. So I don't really like that. He's been kind of so-so. But the guy that I do want to talk about in the first play that jumps out is Keegan Murray. So we're going to take a look at this. Now, I always do same game parlays on DraftKings, and one of the things I always do is Keegan Murray 10 plus or 12 plus points. Today they've even got 8 plus points if you want to go that route. What I love about this is over the last 3 games, he's got 39, 32, 35 minutes with 15, 22, and 19 points. His price pick line right here, 12.5. So I like that to go over. 15, 22, 19 the last 3 games. One of the things I will also do is scroll up, scroll down, and see if anyone is out. Now, you can see right here, Herter's been out the last 3 games, and it doesn't look like, so Fantasy Alarm doesn't think he's going to play. Roto just slapped 12 minutes on him. The last game, he had played 6 minutes. So this could affect him because one thing that I would look at is these 2 games where Herter played 28 minutes. Look what it did to Keegan Murray's points, 9 and 7. So you definitely want to keep an eye on that. But these 3 games where Herter was out, he exploded, and he's killing this 12.5 point line. So keep an eye on Herter's status. I still like over 12.5 even if he does play, but is something to keep an eye on. Now let's go ahead and flip on. I didn't see anything else that kind of jumped out at me on this game. Chris Paul assist is one that's always out there. Flip it over this Portland and Chicago game. Let me see if I had any notes on that one. I don't believe I did. There weren't any lines out on DeRozan yet. They didn't know if he was going to play. It looks like they finally got some out for Levine. 28.5 I'm going to stay away from. So this game, we don't have a lot of information. Lillard, 35.5. That is a massive number to go after. So this game, I don't have anything that really jumps out at me. The Lakers and OKC. Now, I do have some plays here that I like. If you're doing a same game parlay, I love the points prop for Shy. He's got 30, 31, 40, 29, and 35. So he's pretty much 30 points plus a game. But if you're on Prize Picks, 31.5 is kind of tricky because you see 30, a 31, and a 29. He's only been over that 2 of the last 5 games. So I don't like it on Prize Picks, but if you can get something and alt it down, I do like that on a same game parlay. The one guy that I do want to focus on over here is Austin Reeves, especially if you're playing DFS. He has been absolute fire. Now, if you are a DFS player, you can see right here, Austin Reeves, he falls into our, let me slide this over, a diamond play, and he has been absolute fire with LeBron out. He's really stepping up. He's got 49, 50, a low one, and 41 fantasy points over the last 3 games. So he's been doing really well. That's someone that I would focus on. Where'd I go? I got mixed up again. But Austin Reeves, 18.5 points. He's got 25, 35, 16, and 24 over the last 4 games. He's playing a solid number of minutes. He's been over 30 minutes the last 3 games. His fantasy score has been really well. I love that his fantasy score is getting there with only 1 block steal, no block steal, and then 2 there. But getting up into this range, over 33.5, also looks pretty good if you don't want to go that route. Assists are worth 1.5, so assists are key. Here where he was under, he only had 2 assists, but look at these other games, 7, 6, and 11. And when he can dish this ball off to Anthony Davis down low, I mean, his assist could be huge. So I like Austin Reeves over 18.5 points or over 33.5 fantasy score. I don't think either one of them are bad picks. Jalen Williams is someone that I typically have been going with quite a bit. I think yesterday we had points, rebounds, 21.5. You can see he ended with 19. Kind of sporadic. He has a big game, and then he has a couple low games, and then he spikes up. So I'm going to stay away from him unless I'm doing a same-game parlay. And then for Anthony Davis, you know, I really don't like that. 26.5 points. He's got 27, 15, 26. Rebounds 13.5, 9, 11, and 10. And I think the Lakers are already eliminated, so they don't really have anything to play for. So I don't think he's going to come out and go bananas or anything. So I would avoid the players in that kind of situation. Flip it over here to Golden State, Philadelphia. This is probably my favorite game if you're doing any type of a boost for a same-game parlay on DK. Curry is always solid to put in there. You can see he's got a high of 50. He had a low game here of 16, but outside of that, everything's 20 plus, a couple 30 bombs. So he's someone I love his 3-point props. You can typically get 3 plus, sometimes 4 plus, but he only had 2 this last game. But 5, 3, 4, 8, 4, 6. I mean, 3 to 4, he's pretty much guaranteed for. So I don't mind putting Curry in some stuff. I don't like the prize line of 26.5. 2 guys that I'm always on and it always hits are Harden and Embiid. Harden, I always go points and assist. You can see here, he basically crapped the bed, didn't do anything. But prior to that, like 28-12, 18-14, 19-8, you can typically get 25 plus points and assists on a same game parlay at a decent line and mix it in there. And then Embiid points and rebounds. Now this game, he left at halftime. I don't even think he came back. But look at these points, rebounds in the prior games. And let me slide that over so you can see. 37 and 16, 31 and 7, 38, 13, 36, 18, 34, 8, 39 and 7. Now when I do a same game parlay, I usually have him for a 35 to 40, somewhere in that range. 35 plus is usually juiced up, but it's pretty safe as you can see. But if you go 40 plus, that's kind of the sweet spot where you want to be. So if Harden does play tonight, I usually put those 2 together. I'll do Harden 25 plus points and assists. So that means over 24.5. And then Embiid, I'll do points and rebounds of either 35 plus or 40 plus. As you can see, there's no price picks yet because they are up in the air. So we're still waiting to see what they are going to do. Now, if Harden does not play, so these games here, the first and third game ago, well, actually all 3 of these games, Maxey's your guy that's going to step up and score a lot of points. He's got 21, 22, and 31. He usually has a fairly low prop line, somewhere between 16.5 and 18.5, and he's dropping about 20 points a game when he is out. I thought his assist would be higher, but 4, 6, 7's not bad. He does grab a couple of boards, so even his PRA with 30, 33, and 40 is one to keep an eye on. And then even when Harden played this game and didn't really do anything, Maxey stepped up. So if Harden's out, I like going Maxey and Embiid. If Harden's in, I like doing Harden and Embiid, but we don't have that information yet. One thing that did jump out on me was Tobias Harris. He's actually got a few games here where he was 25, 25, 23, and then all of a sudden these 3 games, 34, 47, 32 minutes. He's playing a ton of minutes, and he's been over 20 twice with 9 and 9 boards in the last 2, so he's someone I may be interested in. Melton, 25 and 19 the last 2. He's also scoring some points. That's pretty interesting as well. And look at these steals. My God, 3, 4, and 6 over the last 3 games for Melton. So that's 13 in 3 games. Typically, his steal prop is probably 1, 1.5, something pretty low. And if you're doing fantasy score, that is huge. So 7 here, and he's even got a block 3 games in a row. So you're looking at 7 times 3, that's 21 points of fantasy score on just blocks and steals before you get into any rebounds, assists, any of that stuff. And then we flip over here. The only guy really on the other side, Draymond, I'm going to stay away from. I just can't get him right. He doesn't do anything for me. But Jonathan, I'm going to try to pronounce this, Kuminga is someone, here he really wasn't doing anything. 19, 26 minutes, 10, 8 points, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? But these last 3 games kind of impressed me, so I'm curious to see. There's no lines out on him yet, but these 3 games, he's got 22, 17, and 24 points. A handful of extra stats adding in there. Always has a block or a steal. So I'm curious to see what his fantasy score is and what his points prop is going to be. You can see Roto and Fantasy Alarm. They've got him for about 13 points. He's been killing that the last 3 games. So I want to scroll down here and see if anyone else is in or out in those 3 games. So no one really jumps out here. The biggest one would be Draymond. I'd want to make sure he was playing. He did play all 3 of those games. Look at that. Draymond, 4 blocks, 3 steals. That's kind of funny. His fantasy score is 28.5, and these 7 alone, that's 21 points. He ended up with 48.8 fantasy score. So I can't get this guy right. He gets ejected every time I pick him, but just something interesting that jumps out to keep an eye on these. And just in case you're wondering, our MLB sheet's going to be really similar to this with our game logs. We're going to split it up. It's going to have the same color coding. So if you're used to following this for basketball, you should be able to slide right into it for MLB. Sliding over here to the Toronto game, the one guy that really did jump out at me, so one thing to keep an eye on are Fred VanVleet assists. I've talked about this before. We were all over it at 7, 7.5, even 8 yesterday or the day before. It dropped to 8 or jumped to 8.5. But look at this: 11, 11, 7, 6, 7, 10, 9. So these last 2 games, he's got 11 and 11. And then here, so like his floor over the last week is 6 to 7, and the line's 8.5. Well, all right, I like taking a shot at 8.5. I prefer 8. But if you didn't bet it early this morning, then it's 8.5 as of now. Also, his steals jump out. Whenever I see a solid color all the way across here, 2, 1, 2, 4, 3, 3, 3, that's phenomenal. So lots of times in a same game parlay, you could throw in, Fred VanVleet 1+ steal and juice it up a little bit and get some more action in there. His fantasy score, I just noticed this, it wasn't out on the morning sheet, is 42.5. And he's been over that 5 games in a row, pushing mid-40s most of the time, so that's interesting. He's in a good matchup here going up against Detroit, who's given up the 14th most points, 27th in points in the paint, so they're giving up a lot, not a lot on the perimeter, and he has been shooting a lot of threes with 3, 3, 3, 3, 8, 2, 3, so he's been banging some threes. So maybe stay away from the fantasy score, maybe look at his points prop. But if you're doing prize picks, I like taking his assist over 8.5. A couple of these he did miss. He was right under that, but 11-11 the last 2, it's worth a shot, especially if you got the Flex Friday. Pascal Siakam, he's been the hottest guy. He either gets really hot or really cold. 55, 43, 45, 54, 28, and a fantasy score of 43. That's pretty fair for him. But the one guy that did jump out at me was Poeltl was the first one. Sorry if I'm saying that incorrectly. His points and rebounds have been pretty solid. 23 and 8, 20 and 6, 14 and 11, 16 and 12, So I put him in my first same game parlay today, but I didn't like the 26.5. That worried me a little bit just because this is an under, this is an under. But on my same game parlay, I end up getting... Oh, I didn't write it down. I ended up getting a much better number, so I went with that. And then Wiseman, he jumped out at me, but I'm not going to waste any time on him. But the other guy that I'm really focused on is Killian Hayes and his assist. His assist is at 7. I don't mind that. He's projected at 8 for 2 different sites. But over the last, let me slide this over so you can see. He has 6, 11, 7, 7, 11, and 13, and then 5. So 5 to 6 is his floor. Well, we only need 7 for a push. He pushed that twice, and then he's been over it 3 of the time. So over the last 6 games, he's been over 3, pushed twice, lost once. So basically 3 and 1. So if you're doing a flex play, that's not a bad one because 6 is really the only one that's going to hurt you. So I don't mind taking a shot at that. I don't really have anyone else in there that jumped out in the Toronto game. Van Vliet assist and Killian Hayes assist are the main 2 that jumped out. Flipping over here to the Memphis game. They didn't have any lines on this one this morning, but I like a lot of players in this game. Let me squeeze this over here. One of the reasons is Houston is just so bad. They're giving up the 25th most three-pointers. Look at their steals and blocks. They're giving up 8.6 steals per game, over 6 blocks per game, and that ranks 28th in the MLB. So if you want to go Memphis fantasy score players, there should be some good opportunity there. Bane, I never really picked this guy, but, you know, his numbers speak for themselves. I mean, 5 of the last 7, he's been over 20 points. He always has a handful of counting stats. He's been chipping in some steals. Not bad. I don't like 21.5 on price picks, so I won't go that. Jaren Jackson, I love this guy. This guy is just a straight-up baller. Look at this fantasy score, 57, 55.9. His fantasy score projection is 38.5. I think that's one that we could go after to get over. He's been over it in 4 of the last 5 games. I know this shows red, but 45.5 is higher. Even his PRA, you know, over. I might just do that, do points, rebounds, assist. And you can see here, he does a little bit of everything. He doesn't really do a lot on the assists, points and rebounds. It's only 1 less than his points, rebounds, assists. So a couple of these games, he had 2 and 3. So, you know, you could go either way, either 29.5 points, rebounds, assists, or you could go points, rebounds, 28.5, or points, 21. I mean, he's been over that in 5 straight games. So I do like Jaren Jackson. He's one of the guys that jumps out. John Morant is finally back. He played 24 minutes last game, which is kind of where they came out and said, you know, he's going to be 20 to 22 minutes. So 24 is not too bad. Flipping down, Tyus, if you can get like a 10-plus in a same-game parlay, I don't mind that. He's usually good for 10 points a game. That's another small guy off the bench that I usually watch for. Over here on the other side, I'm not really going to touch on a lot of Houston players just because that's what usually sinks me as I get this crap team. But your top 3 here, Kevin Porter, Jabari Smith, and Jalen Green. If you're going to go after anything or pair it with the same game parlay, those are the guys you want to go with. Jabari was red hot. He's got a line at 13.5. He's been over it in 5 of 7 games, which is 71%, so I don't mind that. He's got 16 and 17 in the last 2. He did fizzle out a little bit here and have a couple lower-end games where he still played the minutes. And he took the shots. He just sucked. I think there was one, he was like 2 for 10 at the half, and I was like, oh my God, we're going to miss this. But anyway, someone to keep an eye on. Jalen Green, you can see here, 32, 20, 40, 25. I mean, pure scorer. He's been scoring a lot of points. 23.5 on price picks is a little tight, but if you take like 18 plus, 20 plus on a same game parlay, that's pretty good. And look at his fantasy score, only 32.5, and he's got a 40, 47, 44, and then a lower one. So over in 3 of 4. Kevin Porter, where'd it go? He had a big game where he exploded. I guess we didn't see it. But he's typically 14 to 20 points on average. I like this. He already had a triple-double, 14, 10, 10 last time out. So someone to keep an eye on. But my favorite here would be Jabari Smith or Jalen Green if you're mixing in some same-game parlays. Let's flip down here. Porzingis, they didn't have any lines on. He's more same game parlay for me. 28 is a lot on Price Picks. 0 for 6, so his PRA is 40, and he's 0 for 6 on that. So maybe that's an under you look at after getting burned on the Mobley under, what do we have, under 9 rebounds yesterday, and he ended with 16. That didn't work. But anyways, maybe that's one that you look at. I'm staying away from unders. They've burnt me so much. Flipping through here, I don't see anything else that really jumps out. Zach Collins has been doing really well, points, rebounds. Trey Jones, 12 points. I don't really like that. He kind of hovers around it. Keldon Johnson, he would be your sneaky one to take some action on, but I don't really know where I want to go with him. His fantasy score at 33.5, and he's been over it the 3 games that he's played, and when he does play, he plays a crap ton of minutes. And look at that, 29, 21, 27 points. He grabbed 12 boards here against Atlanta, 5 and 8, and even had 5 assists. Wow, that's not too bad. And then here, he didn't get his PRA, but he did get his fantasy score because he had 3 steals, which is 9 points to get him up over that number. So, again, I try not to take teams that suck real bad, and he falls in that category for sure. So, let's see, we're at 26 minutes. Let's go ahead, hit these last 3 games pretty quick. Utah, Milwaukee, Giannis is just priced up out of the world. It's so hard to get a read on him. 12 rebounds, 30.5 points. That's, I'm probably not going to mess with that. Abaji, one thing, his 3-point made, 2.5. You can get 2+ in his same game parlay. And look, he's been doing really good. 2, 6, 4, 1, 2, 4. So I don't mind that. 2.5's a little tricky. Point-wise, there's not really a lot I like on Utah. Tucker, 17.5. And see, this is what I look at that I fade. If you see 37, 9, 19, 10, 11, I mean, he's all over the place. He could get you single digits, or he had a game he put up almost 40. So there's really no rhyme or reason why. So, and I'm not going to dig into it to try to find out anything further. I would look at blocks here for Kessler. Look at this, 3, 5, 3. So he's got 11 blocks across the last 3 games. That's even good for his fantasy score numbers. Let's see what they give up for blocks. Actually, Milwaukee only gives up 2.8 blocks per game, so let's dub that. We're not going to go for blocks. Nothing else I really like over here. And I'm in Milwaukee. It's Giannis, Holiday, and Lopez are the main 3 guys. Oh, look at this. This is nice. So typically these same game parlays where you can do 1+ steal. Look at this. Drew Holiday, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2. So we only go back 7 games, but he's got a steal in every single game. So if you can do 1+ steal in a same game parlay, that's not too bad. Don't mind that. Let's flip over here to these last 2 games and get this baby wrapped up. I'm going to go to the last game. So Dallas and Charlotte, I'm just going to skip this game completely. There are so many players that are questionable. Terry Rozier was downgraded. When Terry Rozier does play, watch his assist. This is one, there's a high standard deviation. You can see 2 and 4, not very good, but 9, 9, 8, 9, you can get huge plus money taking something like that, but he is unlikely to play tonight. I think Oubre was downgraded too, I'm not sure. And then the Luka Kyrie thing, if either one of them plays, they're a rock star. I love the 17 assists for Luka here, but we're going to stay away from this game. So let's go ahead and take a look at our last game, which is Boston and Indy, and this is another game that I love. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, when both of them are doing well, which I'm looking at this right here, 36, 15, 34, 22. So basically 20+ in 6 of the last 7 games. I'll give him a break on this one. And then same thing with Brown. He's got 20+ and actually 24+ in 6 straight games. So you can get 20+ in a same game parlay really well. Tatum, you got to go up to 25 or you get wrecked at 20+ on the odds. But you can put these 2 together, and that's pretty good. I lean Brown a little bit because you can get a little lower number. I don't like 26.5 on Price Picks. I prefer it in the same game parlay. But he's also been putting up a handful of other stats if you want to do points and rebounds or points and assists. Taking a look, fantasy score, really, when he doesn't do a lot of blocks and steals, fantasy score, I go ahead and stay away from because that's your main benefit. If Halliburton plays, I know we don't have any games for him here. Look at his assist. He is an assist monster, and I'll show you on the leaderboard here in a minute. But he hadn't played any of these games, but the last game he did play, he had 19 assists. That is crazy. I thought it was a typo. I had to go back and look it up. But with him being questionable, a lot of these other guys aren't going to have very big stats. But this Nebhard, however you say his name, he's someone I would be really interested in. He's only projected for 8 or 11 points in 25 to 35 minutes. But that's kind of what he's been playing, 25 to 35. But look, he's been killing that. 25, 22, 24. You know, here he didn't do anything. But 3 of the 4 games, he's been over 20. So that could be someone that we could go after when the lines come out on him. Another one that I took in my morning same-game parlay is Al Horford, points and rebounds. So here his points prop is 9.5. His rebound prop is 5.5. Points and rebounds was 15.5. I took 12 plus in a same game parlay. I took Tatum 20 plus points, Brown 20 plus points, and then I went down here to Horford and took 12 plus points plus rebounds, which you can see 16, 17, 14, missed it, 13, 23. It's something he usually gets quite a bit of the time, but it gave me a good leg. Other than that, we're waiting on news from Indy and no other information. So just to recap, Keegan Murray over 12.5 points is one I'm going to definitely have some action on. Austin Reeves has been absolute fire. I like his points over. Kuminga for Golden State, however you say his name, he's someone to keep an eye on. He's been doing really well lately. And if Harden plays, Harden points and assists are one to always go after. And Embiid points and rebounds are another one. Steph Curry points and assists 32.5 I listed down. Let's take a look at that one. I don't think I talked about that one. Steph Curry here, so his points and assists 32.5. I had that circled. So here, actually I was going to say he didn't get it, but he did because he had 13 assists. So here we had 33, we have 35, we missed it there, 36, 56, 28, and 40. So I don't mind his points and assists, 32.5, especially if Kuminga is playing really well. Tobias Harris, points and rebounds. He was the other one we briefly mentioned, but I didn't give you a prop on. Points and rebounds, I had it on a same game. I don't see a price pick on it yet, though. But look at that, 29, over 20, 29, low 20s. So these last 3 games, he's really been kind of kicking it in gear. Which game was it? This game, Embiid left at halftime. So let's take that one with a grain of salt. So he's going to be more in this 14-9, 18-5 range. So if you could get, you know, points and rebounds 20, that's not too bad. I'd look at something like that. Killian Hayes assists 7 plus on Prize Picks. I like that. Same game parlay, I got 5 plus. And if you're looking at, I think those are the main ones that I've got written down. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get this thing uploaded so you guys can use this as a tutorial of how I look at the sheet. Also, another thing that's new is the leaderboard, and I absolutely love this thing. Somebody was writing in the chat as I was recording this, so I didn't get a chance to read it. But the last 5 games, you can go up here and look at points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks. And the last 5 games, I just sort by average. So what I do when the sheet first comes out, it looks like this. Well, NOG, that just means no game. So what I do when I run the sheet, I go down here and I uncheck this box for no game. So it's got all the players with the games, and I leave it on points, and I sort it high to low. So these guys here have averaged the most points over the last 5 games. So, of course, Shy, and you can see how many points he's had the last 5 games. Giannis, Booker. But if you want to get into these other stats like rebounds, go there, sort by average. You know, look at these rebounds. So Sabonis, of course, we know him. Anthony Davis, we know him. Embiid. Flip down here. So Looney's one you might not know about. So Kevin Looney, 12, 10, 16, and 13 in 4 of the last 5 games. That's pretty good. But we found an assist when I posted it on Twitter. I can't remember who it was, but ended up winning. And even Olenek, look at that, 10, 10, 13 rebounds. I mean, that's key to jump in there and get some of that. Assist is another one we can look at, see who's leading in assist. Well, Halliburton, now he hadn't played the last 7 days, but the last 5 games that he has played, will show up here because it just goes by the player and then their last 5 games across the top. But look at his assist. We talked about this. 19, 16, 11, 6, and 14. So, I mean, he's pretty much double digits every game. And same thing with Harden. 12, 10, 12, 14, 8. 8 is pretty much his floor that you can get in a same-game parlay. Lucas, Sabonis, Lillard, Chris Paul's up there, but he's had a couple down games. Tyus Jones is one that really jumped out at me. Look at that, 7, 6, 14, and 10. And I believe over half those games he came off the bench. Van Vliet, 11 and 11 the last 2. TJ McConnell, 7, 8, 9, 12. That's one to look at. We didn't see that when we scroll through the sheet. And then Killian Hayes, there's one, 6, 11, 7, 7, and 11 that we took a look at. Drew Holiday's kind of the same. You know, he averages about 8 a game. You can usually get a pretty good line on him. But you can just kind of flip down here. Trey Jones, he's 5+ a game. This leaderboard is a lot of fun. And even if you want to look at 3-point shots made, I know David had a contest with one of his buddies. And what I did, because I had this running in the background, is I pulled this up and I said, sorted it high to low. And I said, all right, these are your top guys for who've hit the most 3-point shots, you know, per game over the last 5. One that really jumps out here is Jaylen Brown, 4, 4, 2, 5, 4. Look at 4+. I bet that pays good money. But anyways, this is how you use the leaderboard and how I look at the sheet. So sorry it's a long video, but good freaking luck.